speaker, Professor Santanu and the President of KU IIC, Professor Chattopadhyay, to come to the dais. On behalf of Kalyani University Institutional Innovation Council, I welcome you all. A warm welcome to our revered Vice-Chancellor, Professor Kallol, who is the chief patron of today's celebration, Professor Santanu, Director IIIT-Kalyani, our chief guest, Professor Chattopadhyay, President KU IIC, respected faculties, research scholars and students. The KU IIC celebrates the National Technology Day 2026 with the launch of IDEATHON, an event steering forth idea to impact. May I now request Professor Chattopadhyay to deliver the welcome address. Sir, please.
Good morning. Our Honorable Vice-Chancellor, Sir, distinguished Speaker, Professor Santanu Chattopadhyay, Director IIIT-Kalyani, distinguished guests, faculty, deans, esteemed head of the departments and faculty members, members of the Innovation Council, Institutions Innovation Council, IIC and Research Council of KU, officers of the university, staffs of the university, scholars, students, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of IIC of Kalyani University, I welcome you all in today's program for celebrating the National Technology Day. Today, we got the opportunity to have with us Professor Santanu Chattopadhyay as speaker, and a program for the students, scholars and mentors will be launched formally by our Honorable Vice-Chancellor, who has taken all the initiatives to implement such a program for the first time in this university in congruence with the NEP and Make in India drive of Government of India. The program will be described and discussed in due course. Kindly make this program successful by giving your valuable advice and suggestions. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. I now request Professor Kallol, our Honorable Vice-Chancellor, to deliver today's visionary lecture. Sir.
A very good morning to all of you. I extend a hearty welcome to our distinguished guest speaker, Professor Santanu Chattopadhyay, Director of IIIT-Kalyani. I also express my warm welcome to none other than Professor Chattopadhyay, President of our Institutions Innovations Council. Also welcome to respected deans sitting over in the first row, professors I can see here, most importantly, bright young students and researchers. And hearty welcome to you all. So it's an immense pride for me to officially launch IDEATHON, Idea to Impact. The name itself is innovative one. So this initiative, spearheaded by IIC Kalyani University, is basically built on very simple philosophy that as an academic institute of reputation, what ideas our young minds, students and researchers have should not be confined in the notebook, right? Should not be confined in your mobile. It should be, converted academically as well as, from the point of view of the society. to the larger world. This is why this initiative is being taken by. So what we are trying to do actually, what ideas you do have, students, young minds, we would like to innovate, we would like to help you to nurture them, come with your ideas, whatever may be the type of ideas, right? Initially it might look like a little bit wild. So what this is not an fruitful idea or something like that. You might think like that. But you should not be actually bothered by these ideas. If you come with 10 or 20 or 30 ideas, you people, 1 or 2 may be at the end of the day successful. But this is a continuous process. So whatever you people are thinking, whatever idea you do have, come up with those ideas. University is there to support you in all aspects. Don't feel shy. And also try to, whatever idea you have, try to share it. Along, we have so many departments, so many faculties. You don't know what type of collaboration can make a fruitful, completion of your ideas. So that may be complemented by someone from the other department, other faculty also. So collaborate among, disciplines or faculties that we do have. And then try to relate those ideas with real world problems. Well, there might be some ideas which initially looked very theoretical, very textbook type of things, but you don't know if you try to, think about implementing those ideas in real world, what will happen in future? Nobody knows. I can cite a very simple example for that matter. When Boolean algebra was studied by George Boole, people did not have any idea why it will work. Somebody told that's just pure, just theoretical mathematics. Nobody will be interested in that. But after 100 of years, and in the present day world, this is what is the modern electrical engineering is based on. They cannot work without this. So whatever idea you do have, when it will become fruitful, how will it be implemented, you should not bother about this. I just want to emphasize once again this, that you just think of new things, come up with new ideas. And believe me, this is the age where you can think wide. Of course, for that, you have to be, sometime without your mobile also. I know students are nowadays very much involved in those WhatsApp and all these things. Everywhere I say that you give yourself some time to think something new. What actually this mobile is doing actually, it is bombarding us with so many informations. And I believe somehow, at some point of time, this obstructs our creativity. If you think leisurely, without mobile for hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, you will see that your brain will have something to think about. When just we open the mobile, there is some information. Through WhatsApp, through Facebook, through so many social media things. It is really creating obstruction to your ideas, believe me. Give yourself some time without this mobile. And finally, once again, thanking IIC, all the members of IIC. I'm really so proud to see that IIC is doing so many things in this university, and we have some bigger plans in future also, you will come to know. And once again, welcoming our distinguished guest speaker, I wish this great success, this National Technology Day celebration a great success. Thank you all. Have a nice day.
sir, for your inspiring words. It will definitely help the young minds to delve deep into the world of innovation. May I now request our Honorable Vice-Chancellor, sir, to launch the flagship program, IDEATHON, Idea to Impact. Sir. We have amongst us Professor Santanu Chattopadhyay, Director, IIIT-Kalyani. I now request Professor Vijoy-Shikhar Dotto to introduce the speaker. Professor Dotto, come to the stage.
Thank you. Good morning to everybody. I'm very much privileged to introduce today's speaker. Professor Santanu Chattopadhyay is currently the Director of Indian Institute of Information Technology, Kalyani, where he is also a professor in the Department of Electronics and Communication Engineering. He is on leave from Indian Institute of Technology, Kharagpur, where he is a professor in the Department of Electronics and Electrical Communication Engineering. He had been the Associate Dean, Faculty of Engineering and Architecture, and the Chairman of Kalpana Chawla Technology Cell at IIT Kharagpur. He was also the head of the Department of Computer Science and Engineering and Computer Center at IIT Guwahati. He has been an associate editor in the IET Circuit Device and System Journal. Professor Chattopadhyay has successfully completed a large number of research and development projects funded by both government agencies and multinational, including Motorola, Synopsys, Incorporated, etc. His research work spanned over the field related to VLSI design and testing. The specific area of interest include design and test technique, targeting low-power thermal approaches, embedded high hardware paradigm like system on chip and network on chip, fault diagnosis, design for security, AI approaches in VLSI design and test. He has published more than 200 research papers in reputed international journals and conferences. He has authored a number of research and textbooks published by both international and national publishers, such as Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineering Computer Society Press, USA, CRT Press, UK, PHR Learning, India. With this, may I now request Professor Chattopadhyay to deliver his speech. Thank you.
The lollipop plant from our university garden.
Okay, so very warm welcome to this session. Thank you very much for inviting me for this program today. There is no denial that National Technology Day is a day where we think about the society and think about the technologies that has renovated the society further and is going to improve it further and further in the coming days. Let me start with a very basic problem that has been solved by the technology. There are many basic problems, but something that is brings my concern, particularly from the domain of IT, is the booking of movie tickets. Those who used to go to, say, see movies some 20-25 years back must be aware of the trouble of getting a genuine ticket, going to the cinema hall, standing on the line, getting the ticket, or possibly getting from the black market. And how much social impact it had at that time, you can imagine. We had to classify people, good people and bad people, and among the bad people there were a lot of black marketeers who used to do this cinema ticket black marketing. But you see, today what is the scene? Nobody does these things. So you just go to book my show and book it. It is done. So is it good or bad? Definitely it is good. At the same time, we really do not bother. So at that time, if you go to a hall and try to procure a ticket, so it was 10 rupees, 15 rupees, even less than that. Today you go to Book My Show and the minimum price is at least 200 rupees. Okay? Associated costs are also there. So that way it has affected the society, good or bad, whether we are progressing or not, those are the issues that varies. No denial that technology is going to tell, it is going to depict the way we think tomorrow. Today, we do not see any rickshaw pullers on the street, mostly, but we see a lot of auto and photos flying. Yet previously, somebody who takes up rickshaw pulling as the job was not looked after to be a person who is doing very good job. And today nobody bothers, even the young people, they are happily taking up these jobs, this type of activities. So these are happening. So these are the technologies that are changing the way we think about the world, the way we work in our life. Similarly, today I am going to talk about another domain which is going to revolutionize the way future research and development activities are going to take place. And we have already started in that journey, and it is known as computational science. So as the term suggests, so we are relying a lot on the computational platforms that we have, computational facilities that we have to get the confidence on scientific behavior explanations. Today it is possible to think, because starting from the days of George Boole and Boolean algebra, we have worked a lot, and today computational power or raw power is possibly not a problem. So there are lots of processors getting integrated into a chip, and computational power has gone up like anything. Now it is the question of reaping the result out of that. Unfortunately, if you look into simply computer science and IT, they cannot do this. They can give you another faster processor, they can give you even better software. Okay, that Book My Show app can be made much better, but they cannot solve a problem of medical science. They cannot solve a problem of agriculture. Okay, so this is there. So those areas are important. Those facilities that will be required may be provided by computer science or AI or IT, whatever you call it. They are all the same thing. But the way they impact our thinking process is going to affect. So today I will try to touch upon how this computational science is going to combine our research process and our thinking process. Let me talk about a situation that future scientists are going to face. And since many of you are research students, today you are working in some environment, tomorrow when you go to a more to progress further in your life, possibly you will see a different type of environment in which it is progressing. Let me tell you very frankly, when we were doing our research, we used to spend 6 months or so solving a problem. We write down the paper, getting excited by the results, we write down the paper, send it to some conference or journal, just to get a one-line review that similar work has been published in such and such references, etc., etc. So you see, when I look into the date of that publication, this is just 6 month to 8 month gap. So in India, sitting in India, I cannot access those resources, but that does not explain my quality of my work. That does not tell that, okay, in India you could do this, so that's great because India did not have this particular document. So that problem, that explanation is not acceptable. Today, any of you doing any research, first thing that you do while solving a problem is to search on the net and find out the similar literature. Okay, so that is the thing. So you cannot deny this thing. That's what I want to point out. We cannot deny this situation. So the technology has come, and it is the time that we have to use it and try to get our problem solving ability changed. So how a future scientist, Professor X, will be working his daylight? Comes to the laboratory in the morning and checks status of experiments that were submitted last night. And over the night, all the experimentation have been done, all the plotting have been done. So computerized assistant will report the results. Results under 20 different conditions with plots of deviations in each case from those predicted by the model under development. So as a scientist, what do? I try to explain some physical phenomena. I try to give a model for the phenomena. I try to fit possibly a differential equation to explain the behavior. So that's what I am trying to do. When I am trying to do that, I am trying to fit a model for the data set. And whether my model is good enough on a huge data set, just to do that validation itself, a researcher will, at this point of time, will take a lot of resources and a lot of time by which can come to a conclusion. But this particular environment, this will be giving you the very next day morning, 120 different cases, what is the performance of your model. And maybe out of these 20 cases, there are 3 cases where there are significant diversions. So those 3 cases are the exceptions that need to be explained. Now, professor will ask the assistant for probable explanation. Mind you, this assistant is not a human being I am talking about, it is mostly a computerized system. And the assistant comes up with say 10 different possibilities considering data fittings and domain knowledge. What the assistant has at its disposal is the all research papers, all the reported results, reported works that have happened over say last 50-60 years. So just to explain these 3 deviations, the assistant will look into all those documents, search out the possible reasons for this thing. Mind you, this assistant capability is limited to this point. Assistant cannot think beyond this point. Assistant can look into the previously existing literature and come up with the possible explanations. What Professor X does, Professor asks for literature on similar works or hypothesis, and assistant comes up with say 10 ranked research papers. This is very important. Like today, if I going to look into any explanation or any theory for that, so I have to look into the papers. So which papers we look into? So many papers are being published over all the journals and conferences and other resources. So assistant will come up with 10 ranked research papers, and by looking into the abstract or maybe by intuition, professor will read 2 to 3 of them to be relevant. So this is the job of the human being. Human being will come at this point of time at which he or she can take a very judicious decision, like which are the avenues to be explored further. By going through those papers, possibly the professor will come up with 3 plausible modifications to the model. Okay, previously there was a differential equation, so something is modified there, maybe some boundary condition, maybe something else somewhere, some coefficients, okay, and accordingly, it will then he or she will ask the computer assistant to design experiments for that. So if I design 3 possible cases, then there are 3 possible sets of experiments that have to be designed. So that is automated. Assistant will design the same and submit it for experimentation by the robotic assistant when the resources will be available. So that will be scheduled, and maybe in the night when the time will be free, the robotic assistant will do the experiments and come up with again next day morning the similar set of activities, getting all the plots and starting with them. Apparently it seems to be very optimistic, but this is going to happen. We are already towards that direction. As I was telling, the way we did our literature survey and today you are doing a literature survey, there is a vast difference in the process. And this is what information technology has caused. So it has changed our life and day-to-day problem solving approaches. Getting any problem we first search in the Google, possibly with the AI handler enabled. So all these things, how do we communicate with people, how do we learn a new thing, how do we listen to music. You listen to one music, it will come up with 10 suggestions. And most probably we are going to select one of those suggestions to hear next. So that is not depicted by us, it is more depicted by, say, YouTube or any other such media, any other such app. So that is also controlled. Travel plans, you just tell your dates and your liking, and then it will come up with a lot of suggestions. So this is there. So this way, this is what I want to mean. Like shopping purchase, so definitely it is there. Bank transaction, bill payments, okay? Even preparing these presentations. So I accept that today the presentation that you see, part of it is again by AI only, IT enabled techniques. So I did not search, I did not make all these pictures, okay? So I got it from some source, so that they are really available. So you just give some keywords, it will give you a lot of matching images, matching videos, etc. Computers will help in these activities, storage and retrieval, processing, information exchange. So this is the impact of information technology on the society overall. And at the same time, if you look into the science, so scientific revolution is much older and definitely it is further deep rooted, and it is trying to explain the universe, the earth, matter, life, disease, mind, society. It is trying to explain everything and trying to fix a model for that. Today, if I pose the question, how the balance between oxygen and carbon dioxide is maintained in the environment, we have got plenty of models for that, and one feasible model consists of the two processes, that is photosynthesis and respiration. That explains the behavior between the balance of oxygen and carbon dioxide. That way it is made. So science has made those things, but at many times it requires a lot of computations to be done. So it is very much unlikely that you fix a model and immediately it will be fitting the all the examples that we have in our hands. So scientific experimentation or scientific research, so it will explore the data that has been collected systematically and try to frame theory out of that. Okay, so once you have the model or the theory, many of the questions are answered, like how it is working. So these two domains, science and computation, they are going to be combined together. There has to be some connection between them and give rise to computational science. So this has come up as a new domain, and this will show like how tomorrow's researchers, tomorrow's problem solving, that will take place. Some of the examples like collection and analysis of sky surveys. So you see, there are so many satellites moving around. We do not know how many are there and how much data they are giving back to the earth. So traditional techniques that cannot do this manipulation of data, because the volume of the data and diversity of data itself is a problem. It is so big that no manual process can handle this. So possibly we need some automated technique for that. Similarly, fluid dynamics, this is a domain which is very much important for areas like aerospace, automotives, etc. And they require high performance computing for these industrial simulations. So definitely, when we say that, again we have to have good amount of computational power for this. So what I want to mean is that it is is not that IT or computer science will take up these jobs. That is out of question. That has to come from the domain, and domain experts, they have to be consulted. But the problem as a human being that we face, suppose I design a simulation software and give it to some automotive expert to see like how is it doing. Most of the time, I may be wrong for some of the cases, most of the time the approach that the experts have is to negate the foundation, is to negate the development that have been done. So that idea has to be changed. So we have to create an environment where everybody will be cooperative, then only we can get something very positive. So here also the same thing, like for automotives and industrial simulations, so we have to go for this high performance computing. So orbit observing satellites data, so that are being sent, again it is a massive data, and that has to be processed, and that again requires the computational power. Gene sequence analysis, again the size of the data is huge. There are redundancy, there are non-linear data, and there are structural complexity of the DNA. So these are very much involved. That makes the genetic analysis, genetic sequence analysis a very difficult task. But that is very much required, because today we are designing the drugs which are targeted for a particular patient, for a particular disease. Okay? So until and unless we get this type of analysis, we cannot do that. So this is very important, and it has to be done. Gene expressions, like information are encoded in the DNA. So even for the same people, two different persons, okay. So even for the same person, if you take cells from two different positions, so they have got their DNA sequences same, but they will be used to produce some gene products, some proteins, some RNA, like how these cells are doing this computation. They are doing the computation, so how is it doing that computation? So that is very important. So gene expressions, and this also requires ID. This is more or less known to us, like recording and analysis of brain activity by EEG, fMRI, etc. So this is the huge amount of data that will come. Now how to do the analysis, so we have to have some tools for that. And these are the domains, some of the domains where you can see that you need people from different areas. Not a single area, but you need people from different areas to join together and do the work. Indexing retrieval scientific papers. So, how do you search for a paper on a particular topic? So you have to have indexing, and then possibly the retrieval techniques for that. So this is also a challenging job, because the volume of research works published so far is very large. So why computational science? This is basically to address the problems of 21st century, which is predominantly multidisciplinary in nature, and it has to be collaborative. I again highlight this point. There is no point telling that my discipline is more important than that discipline. Those days are gone. Now everybody has to be collaborative, then only we can come to some success. So the use of computational methods and metaphors to understand and support scientific enterprise. So this is very important, like how the science will progress, that has to be found out. If you look into the areas that we have, see, when you look into the nature, we have got so many things. There is no such division as such, but for our own understanding, we have divided something into physics, something into chemistry, something into biology, something into economics, etc., etc. We have tried to divide. Again, you go to a particular domain, there are lots of subdomains. But when it comes to the nature and you try to see the whole thing together, it is going to be merged, and that merging is coming up. So in this process, to make it more structural, what you can possibly think about, some of the disciplines are content disciplines, some of the disciplines are method disciplines. So content disciplines, they will define the computational problems, and method disciplines will have the computational solutions. So let me clarify this point. Like say areas like astronomy, biology, chemistry, earth science, material science, medicine, physics, and many more. So they are all content disciplines. They are providing the problems to the computational scientists. Computational scientists, on the other hand, they have got this computer science, mathematics, decision analysis, engineering, logic, philosophy, statistics. So these are the tools and techniques which will be useful for solving problems coming from the content discipline. So we can think about the whole set of disciplines to be in this way, that some of them are content disciplines, some of them are method disciplines. So for a single person it is not possible to get expertise in both type of things. So somebody who is a good physicist need not be a good computer scientist as well, so that can handle this AI model. So that is not possible. So for that we have to go for the computer science people. And similarly, a computer scientist cannot claim to be a master of say chemistry domain and try to start doing the modeling of all chemical equations. So both of it is not possible. Okay? So that synergy is very important, and synergy has to be established. Computational science, there are subfields like data structure, simulation, programming languages, database information retrieval, remote sensing, data mining, human-computer interaction. So these are the subdomains of computer science. There are many more which will be useful for this particular area. And if you look into science as computation, so it can be viewed as a set of interconnected computational processes. As I was telling, the problem is the balance of oxygen and carbon dioxide. But when you are trying to give a model for that, we are coming up with two different processes, respiration and photosynthesis. They have got their own control mechanisms, but they are doing the interactions to give the balance in the nature. So there are computational processes which are going to get the behavior for the overall system. And today, all of us are familiar with AI techniques and all. So basically what it says is our neurons or our cells, they are doing the computations. Because of the huge number of such cells and neurons, so we are getting the power of computation. Otherwise it is not. When you are trying to go for machine learning, when you are going to trying to go for deep learning, what we are trying to do is a human being takes so much time. For example, a kid, say 2 to 3 years kid, you give him or her some gadget. After some time, you will find that the kid has started playing with it without doing anything. You give the same gadget to me, I will ask you, give me the user manual. I will start reading it first, and then I will try to press the button. So there is the difference. So we have got computational powers within ourselves, but what is required is the complexity of the problems are so huge that we cannot leave it to the system to learn. We have to make it faster. We cannot wait for 10 years for the system to learn about a particular process. We want to do it within 2 hours. So we need huge computation. That's what we need, all these GPU, CPU, etc., very high capacity processors, very high number of processors like that. So when you are trying to view the science as computation, as interconnected process, so this is required. So science can be understood by analyzing the tasks that arise in scientific research, create computational artifacts that address the same task. So today you know about the digital twins. Okay, so instead of applying the medicine directly to human being's heart, they are applying to the digital twin and see the effects. And then only, once it is successful, possibly it will be taken up. So these are required. These are required because that will make us safe, that will make the scientific research to proceed further. Artificial intelligence and cognitive psychology. So these are the very important fields which will be relevant to this particular domain. If you look into the heuristic search, so most of the problems that we have, they are so difficult that you cannot have exact solutions so easily. So we are trying to develop heuristics. Now, once a heuristic has to be framed, we have to test it with the test cases, and that takes a lot of time. So that has to be reduced. So that can be done only when we have got enough computational power in our hand, which will doing this validation of data. Numeric symbolic processing, these are very important because most of the data that we have, they are not numbers, they are more of text, they are more of symbols. Okay, so computers, they have already progressed a lot so that we can handle this type of behavior with the introduction of these fuzzy sets and also mathematics definitely helping here. Similarly, we have got the tools which is doing that. So string and document manipulation, that document processing is improving, but it has to come up further. Logical deduction, so you give a set of observations from there to deduce something logically, we need the help of the domain logic. So this is very much there. If you look at the humanities domain has got the arts, history, classical studies, literature, film and television, linguistics, music and theatre. So all these are giving me some problems, and those problems we try to solve using computational science. Today, by just sitting on your computer, you can compose a full music. How is it possible? This is possible because of this computational science, it has worked on that. So I need not be a master in computer that way. I need to know, I need to master in the music, but I have to use this particular system. So this is the difference. Now, challenge is to develop the system, and developing the system cannot be done alone by the computer scientists. So there must be musicians who have contributed tremendously in developing those modules. So this is very important. And there exactly what is going to happen. With the humanities, we have got this logical reasoning and analysis. So logical reasoning is a very strong area of humanities. So this is very much necessary here. Textual composition, visual design and composition. So philosophy of science, so that has to, the natural language processing. So all these are very much relevant for this computational science. All these things, they give rise to the domain which is known as the human-computer interaction. So this is going to be important. What a human being is writing a few words, what is in the mind of the human being, so that has to be understood. And it is not just designing a few devices. It is more about thinking about the requirements of the human being and accordingly coming up with the answers. So somehow we have to identify some of the tasks which are mundane and which can be easily automated. So those tasks, like today writing a computer program is not at all an issue. It can be done automatically. So those days are done. Designing a chip, designing is important, but going up to fabrication and all, so that part is already automated. There are tools for that. So if you can design it properly, then you can get it. So you have to determine which task will best suit for automation and which task will best suit for human scientists. So these differentiation we should be able to do. And then we have to create an environment where there will be collaboration between the human being and this automated environment. So that gives rise to this human-computer interaction area. Challenges are like this, that there are many successes in computational science, as we have seen some of them, but we need to revise the existing models in response to the anomalies. And then we have to construct models in knowledge-rich and data-lean fields. Data-lean field means there are several fields where availing the data itself is a problem. One particular problem is when a kidney transplantation is done. Whether the kidney will suit the person to whom we are transplanting it. So that is a very big challenge. And the doctors, they have their own intuition. They look into a number of parameters and based on that come up with a decision that whether to transplant this particular kidney or not. Now the problem is that we do not know it will be fitting it. Definitely we would like to have an AI guided technique for this, which will possibly do a survey of all the transplantations that are done in the world so far, like possibly, and then come up with the answer by doing some AI based matching. But getting that data itself is a challenge. If you contact any hospital, you can get say 30-40 cases, but 30-40 cases you cannot make a AI model with that. So this is the challenge. So there are certain areas which are data lean, but they require the support of this computational science. How to ensure that? So that is another important domain. And the incremental nature of science. Science is also changing. Like coronavirus, which has already mutated several times, and we are always threatened that it can mutate and again it will create problems. So it is there. So everywhere there are incremental changes that are happening. Now, can our model also do these incremental changes? Then only we will be able to handle those situations. So this is very important and very difficult. So we have to support the science, okay? And science will remain with the scientists only, but this computational domain will help the scientists to come up with the decisions much faster, come up with the correct models much faster. So they have changed the ways we carry out our scientific research, and it has increased the rate of scientific and technological progress, and the education in science and other disciplines that has also been improved. However, there is a broad and inclusive vision for computational science, like it has to cover a large number of domains and all, and how it can be done. Commitment to interdisciplinary research. So this is very, very important. It is no more an individual person working with a single computer with network facility. It is a network of people that is going to be important. So we have to have this type of interdisciplinary commitment. And an institution willing to play a leadership role. This is the most important thing. Like if we think about Kalyani University, if we can have a center which possibly joins all these threads together. We have got experts in all the domains, both science and IT, everything. Can we have a center which will be covering all this together, and everybody will be contributing to that, and whatever problem somebody has, the problem is thrown to all, then definitely the solutions will come. So this is going to happen. So we should have that ecosystem built within a university or institution structure. So that is the most challenging thing that our academic industry, definitely industry with the help of industry, but academics has to play for improving it. So with that I conclude. Okay. So thank you very much for giving the time for listening to me, and I hope if something comes up in Kalyani University or any other institute that way, then we will be very much happy to cooperate and collaborate with them. So that is the commitment from IIIT Kalyani side. Thank you very much.